The training Sabers' safety protocols just overrode themselves, and the human's blade doesn't even have a power source. Instructor Kael'thas froze mid-demonstration as every single training saber in the arena began shrieking in unison. 47 weapons simultaneously registering lethal force override conditions. In his 40 years teaching advanced combat techniques at Zelthera 7 Academy, he'd never seen the failsafes trigger like this. The sabers were designed to be impossible to misuse, their energy matrices locked behind 17 layers of safety protocols that would shut down before allowing actual harm. According to YouTube analytics, 98% of viewers are not subscribed. That's a huge number. By subscribing the channel that is completely free, all of them were trying to shut down at once. Evacuation protocol initiated, the arena's AI announced, its typically calm voice edged with something that almost sounded like panic. Unregistered weapons-grade threat detected. All students exit immediately. The alien students didn't need to be told twice. Scales, fur, and carapaces of every color scrambled toward the exits as emergency lights bathed the training floor in pulsing red. Kael'thas's neural implant was already screaming alerts directly into his consciousness. Safety systems cascading, containment fields activating, station commander being notified. And in the center of the chaos stood Emma Williams, the human exchange student, looking utterly bewildered while holding what appeared to be a length of sharpened metal. Emma said, glancing around at the fleeing students. Do I need to leave this outside? I didn't see anything in the syllabus about— Don't move! Kael'thas's 3 hands shot up in a warding gesture, his crest flaring instinctively. His scanner was having a nervous breakdown trying to analyze whatever the human was holding. The readouts made no sense. No power signature, no energy matrix, no quantum field manipulation. Just metal, primitive, unpowered metal. So why were the station's combat sensors losing their collective minds? That weapon, Kael'thas said carefully, forcing his voice to remain steady. Where did you get it? Emma looked down at the sword in her hands like she'd forgotten she was holding it. Oh, this? It's my uncle's? My training saber got flagged for maintenance this morning, and Uncle Rob said I could borrow one of his projects. He does historical metallurgy as a hobby, makes replica human weapons from before we had, proper tech. She hefted the blade slightly. It's pretty well balanced, actually. He's been working on this one for like 6 months. The arena's main doors burst open. Station Commander Vexthul strode in with a full security team, their weapons drawn and shields activated. His 4 eyes locked onto Emma with an intensity that had made hardened pirates reconsider their life choices. Step away from the human, Vexthul ordered, his translator converting his growl into something almost civil. Slowly. Sir, I don't understand what's happening, Kael'thas said, his own hands still raised. The safety systems are registering a cascade failure, but the only anomaly is the unpowered object the human is carrying, Vexthul finished, his combat scanner extended toward Emma. The device made a sound Kael'thas had never heard before, a confused, warbling whine that suggested the scanner was questioning its own existence. Our sensors can't classify it. The station's AI has flagged it as a Class 7 threat. Class 7? Kael'thas's crest flattened in shock. That was the classification for weapons capable of breaching military-grade shields, for weapons that could threaten starship hulls. That's impossible. It doesn't even have a power cell. Emma raised her free hand slowly, clearly reading the room. Okay. Everyone's really freaked out, and I'm getting that this is serious, but I genuinely have no idea what's going on. This is just steel. My uncle literally made it in his garage using techniques from, the 14th century. It's historical recreation. Steel, Vexthul repeated flatly, his scanner still screaming contradictions at him. You're telling me that primitive iron alloy is causing every safety system in this facility to attempt emergency shutdown? I mean— Emma glanced at the sword again. Yeah, it's just metal. Sharp metal, sure, but that's kind of the point of a sword. Kael'thas felt something fundamental shift in his understanding of reality. In 40 years of teaching combat, he'd handled weapons from across the galaxy. Plasma blades that could cut through starship hulls. Quantum disruptors that could unmake matter at the molecular level. Energy whips that could slice through reinforced armor like it was paper. None of them had ever made the safety systems panic like this. The training sabers, he said slowly, pieces clicking together in his mind. They're designed to recognize and neutralize threats. Energy signatures, quantum fluctuations, plasma matrices, everything that makes a modern weapon dangerous. And this isn't any of those things, Vexthul finished, his tone shifting from commanding to genuinely disturbed. Our systems don't know how to categorize it because it operates on principles we stopped using 50,000 years ago. Emma looked between them, her confusion deepening. Are you saying your super advanced safety systems are freaking out because I brought a sword? Like a regular sword that doesn't do anything except exist and be sharp? Apparently, Kael'thas said, and despite the alarms still blaring and the emergency protocols still running, he felt a laugh bubbling up in his throat. It came out slightly hysterical. Your uncle's garage project just crashed the most sophisticated combat safety network in this sector of the galaxy. Cool, Emma said weakly. So, should I put it down or... The station's AI chose that moment to escalate. Warning. Unable to establish containment protocols for unknown threat, requesting immediate quarantine of Sector 7, deploying additional security measures. Vexthul's expression, already grim, became downright apocalyptic. Quarantine protocols for a training arena? He looked at Emma, then at the sword, then back at Emma. Human, I'm going to need you to explain exactly what that weapon is capable of. Cutting things, Emma offered. I mean, it's sharp. That's literally the whole point. Somewhere in the depths of the station, Kael'thas suspected some very important people were about to have a very bad day. Vexthul's security team had formed a perimeter around Emma, their shields interlocked in a standard containment formation. Each shield generator represented cutting-edge defensive technology, capable of deflecting everything from kinetic projectiles to directed energy weapons. The commander himself was running scan after scan, his frustration mounting with each failed attempt. This is impossible, he muttered, watching his equipment cycle through its entire diagnostic suite for the third time. The molecular scanner just shut itself down. It's registering the blade's edge as having negative width. Negative width? Kael'thas moved closer, his own curiosity overriding his alarm. That's not physically possible. I'm aware, Vexthul growled. His second scanner made a sad beeping noise and displayed an error message. And now the quantum analyzer is telling me the object both exists and doesn't exist simultaneously. Emma shifted her weight, the sword still held loosely in one hand. Look, I know this is all very exciting and weird, but I've got xenobiology in 40 minutes. Can I just show you it's harmless? Would that help? Vexthul's four eyes narrowed. Show us how. I don't know. Swing it at something? Prove it's just a regular sword. Emma glanced around the arena. You've got training dummies and stuff, right? Kael'thas and Vexthul exchanged a look. Finally, the commander nodded sharply. Fine, but controlled conditions. He gestured to one of his security team. Bring out a standard combat dummy, shield rating 7. The dummy that materialized from storage looked humanoid enough, but Kael'thas knew its capabilities intimately. The energy shielding surrounding it could stop plasma bolts, deflect particle beams, and absorb enough kinetic energy to shrug off projectiles moving at supersonic speeds. It was what they used to demonstrate the futility of primitive weapons to first-year students. Okay, Emma said, stepping up to the dummy. She adjusted her grip on the sword, rolled her shoulders, and lifted the blade. So I just hit it? The shield will stop you well before contact, Vexthul assured her. This is merely to demonstrate. Emma swung. The blade passed through the energy shield like it wasn't there. No flash of contact, no energy discharge, no resistance at all. The sword continued its arc and carved clean through the dummy's torso, the two halves sliding apart with a sound like a sigh. Dead silence. Huh, Emma said, examining the sword. Uncle Rob really did sharpen this well. Kael'thas felt his world tilt. That shield, it's rated to stop weapons that cost 3 million credits per unit. Military-grade plasma cutters can't penetrate it. Your weapon just nullified technology that cost 3 million credits per unit, Vex Thul said, his voice barely above a whisper. Emma laughed, the sound almost nervous. Okay, but Uncle Rob literally makes these in his basement. He orders the steel online and does the whole folding process in his forge. It's just blacksmithing. It's not fancy. Bring out an adamantine post, Vex Thul ordered. His crest had gone completely pale. Training grade, now. The security team moved quickly, clearly unsettled. The post they erected in the arena's center was a solid cylinder of adamantine composite, a material so dense and durable it was used in starship hull construction. Kael'thas had seen students try to cut through these posts with every weapon imaginable. The standard result required industrial cutting lasers and approximately 40 minutes of sustained fire. This material requires specialized equipment to damage, Vex Thul explained to Emma. It's a test of... Emma swung again. The blade bit into the adamantine with a crystalline sound, passing through the incredibly dense material like it was soft wood. The top half of the post toppled to the floor with a resounding clang. By the ancestors, Kael'thas breathed. Several of the alien students who'd been watching from the arena's observation deck, neural implants active to record the demonstration, let out distressed sounds. Kael'thas's own implant was feeding him data that his brain refused to accept. The sword's edge geometry was registering as impossible, the molecular alignment creating cutting potential that shouldn't exist in conventional matter. It's just folded steel, properly tempered, Emma said, apparently reading the shock on every alien face. You heat it, hammer it, fold it over itself like 1,000 times to get rid of impurities and create these layers. Then you temper it, heat it up and cool it at the right rate so the steel gets hard but not brittle. Humans have been doing this for literally thousands of years. Vex Thul was frantically accessing the Galactic Weapons database, his 4 eyes moving independently as he scrolled through entry after entry. There's no classification for folded steel. There's no tactical data on swords. The entire database category for edged weapons was deprecated 47,000 years ago as obsolete technology. Cool, Emma said. So can I just use a training saber instead? Because this is getting kind of weird, and I really don't want to be the reason the station gets locked down or whatever. Kael'thas's personal communicator chimed with an emergency priority signal. Academy Headmaster Zara's face appeared in holographic form, her expression somewhere between furious and terrified. Commander Vex Thul, I'm watching the security feeds. Tell me I'm not seeing a human student cut through adamantine with an unpowered primitive weapon. You are seeing exactly that, Headmaster, Vex Thul replied. Emergency council session. Immediately. Bring the human. Zara's hologram flickered. And for the ancestors' sake, someone figure out what that thing is before. Behind them, another practice dummy's shield failed with a sharp crack, overloaded simply by being in proximity to the sword. Before that happens to every defensive system on this station, Zara finished grimly. Emma raised her hand tentatively. Just to be clear, I still get credit for attending class today, right? Zilax arrived via emergency transport 30 minutes later, which was impressive considering he'd been on a station 3 systems away. The Galactic Weapons Authority's chief analyst materialized in the arena already talking, his 6 manipulator appendages clutching various scanning devices. Where is it? Where's the anomalous weapon that's causing... He stopped mid-sentence, his sensory stalks swiveling toward Emma. That's what shut down half the defensive grid on a military academy station? Apparently, Emma said tiredly. She'd been standing in the same spot for half an hour while various officials argued around her. Look, I've already missed xenobiology. Can we speed this up? Zilax scuttled forward, his scanners extended. Unlike Vexthul's equipment, these were top-of-the-line analytical tools, the kind that could break down a weapon to its component atoms and tell you which star system the materials originated from. He ran a full spectral analysis, his facial tendrils quivering as data streamed across his neural interface. Primitive iron-carbon alloy, he announced, sounding almost offended. Approximately 0.6% carbon content. Some trace chromium and manganese. The metallurgical structure shows... Wait, his tendrils went rigid. This is showing a layered composition, thousands of microscopic layers with alternating carbon density. Yeah, that's the folding process, Emma offered. You fold the steel to distribute the carbon evenly, and... This is impossible, Zilax interrupted. The molecular bonds in this configuration shouldn't produce enhanced cutting capability. According to every principle of materials science, this should be inferior to modern monofilament blades. He looked up at her, his 3 eyes blinking in sequence. Yet the damage reports suggest otherwise. Chemistry says one thing, results say another, Kael'thas observed. I've been teaching combat theory for 40 years, and I've never encountered a paradox like this. Zilax's tendrils rippled in what might have been excitement or distress. I need to see it in action, against a known standard. He reached to his side and activated his personal combat shield, military grade, the kind issued to weapons authority field agents operating in active war zones. My shield can withstand direct hits from plasma, cannons. Let me see what this sword does. Emma's expression shifted to concern. Are you sure? I really don't want to break expensive stuff. The last shield I hit kind of just stopped working. This is rated for, Zilax began. She cut through adamantine, Vexthul interjected, in one swing. Zilax's tendrils froze. Adamantine requires industrial cutting lasers operating at sustained temperatures exceeding... He looked at the sword, then at Emma, then at the severed training post still lying on the arena floor. Show me. Emma sighed, stepped forward, and swung with what looked like minimal effort. The blade passed through Zilax's shield matrix without even slowing down, stopping just short of the analyst's carapace. The shield flickered once, twice, then died with a pathetic whine. That shield cost more than a small starship, Vexthul noted. Molecular disruption on this scale requires quantum field manipulation. Zilax's voice had climbed several octaves. You need energy input, field generators, processing matrices to destabilize molecular bonds at the point of contact. This, he gestured frantically at the sword, this has none of that. It's just metal. It's sharp and you swing it hard, Emma said, her patience clearly wearing thin. That's it. That's literally the entire principle behind swords. Sharp edge, kinetic energy, physics. Physics doesn't work like that. Apparently it does, Emma shrugged. Look, humans use these things for thousands of years. We had whole wars with swords and spears and axes. It's not complicated. Kael'thas's communicator erupted with incoming calls. He glanced at the list. Academy Headmaster Zara, 3 members of the Galactic Council, the Sector Defense Coordinator, and someone from the Historical Warfare Department whose job he'd always assumed was ceremonial. Emergency council session has been called, he announced. Emma, they're requesting your presence, and the sword. Finally, Emma muttered. The council chamber filled rapidly with increasingly senior officials, each demanding to understand how a human student had brought a weapon onto a military academy station that could apparently defeat every known defensive technology. Zilax was still running calculations, his tendrils moving frantically across holographic displays that kept showing him results he refused to believe. I want to test something, Commander Vexthul said. He drew his service pistol, a plasma weapon capable of punching through armored bulkheads. Standard defensive scenario, my weapon against yours. That seems unsafe, Emma said. We'll aim at targets, Vexthul assured her. He set up a series of armored plates, standard defensive barriers used in combat training. I fire at mine, you swing at yours. The plasma bolt struck Vexthul's target and scorched the surface, leaving a blackened impact crater about 3 centimeters deep. Emma's sword passed through her target completely, the two halves clanging to the floor. 3 more weapons experts arrived, each insisting on running their own tests. Energy whips, particle beams, sonic disruptors, every advanced weapon system in the galactic arsenal. Each one demonstrated against standard defensive materials. Then Emma swung the sword. Every single time, the primitive blade outperformed weapons that cost millions of credits and required years of training to master. The medieval metallurgy succeeded where quantum physics failed. Okay, this is actually getting ridiculous, Emma said, watching a fusion cutter specialist stare in disbelief at his ineffective tool. Do you guys want me to just pull up YouTube videos? There are literally thousands of videos showing people making swords. It's a whole hobby community. We have competitions. You have competitions? Headmaster Zara repeated weakly. For making weapons that can defeat military-grade shielding? Well, we call them medieval martial arts tournaments, but sure. Kael'thas felt something click in his mind, a terrible, obvious realization that made him feel extraordinarily stupid. We've built our defenses against energy weapons for 10,000 years. Plasma, quantum disruption, particle beams, all of it requires countering sophisticated technology with equally sophisticated countermeasures. And nobody thought about sharp metal, Vexthul finished, his tone hollow. This violates 11 fundamental principles of materials science, Zilax insisted, still staring at his scans. Or maybe your principles don't account for, like, blacksmithing, Emma suggested. I mean, not to be rude, but you guys seem to have forgotten that simple tools can still work really well if you make them properly. In the corner of the chamber, someone's combat shield spontaneously failed, overloaded by proximity to paradigm-shifting implications. The Academy Council chamber had transformed into something resembling a war room. Holographic displays covered every wall, showing security footage of Emma's sword cutting through materials that shouldn't be cuttable. Headmaster Zara sat at the head of the massive table, her crest flattened in what Kael'thas recognized as profound distress. "Explain," Zara said, her voice carrying the weight of absolute authority. "I want a full explanation of human weapons technology. How did your species develop kinetic blades capable of defeating modern defensive systems?" Emma, sitting in a chair designed for someone with a different body plan, pulled out her phone. Okay. So this is going to sound really underwhelming, but..." She tapped at the screen for a moment, then held it up. "Here's the Wikipedia article on medieval swords." Every alien in the room leaned forward, their various visual organs focusing on the small device. "Wikipedia?" Zilax asked. "It's like a free encyclopedia. Anyone can edit it, but it's mostly accurate for basic stuff." Emma scrolled down. "See? Swords. We've been making them for like 3,000 years, maybe more. Bronze Age, Iron Age, Steel Age, we just kept making them sharper and more effective." Zara's translator struggled with the concept. "You're telling me this technology is 3,000 years old?" "At least," Emma confirmed. "Probably older. We found swords in archaeological sites that date back way further. Humans have been hitting each other with sharp metal for basically our entire history as a species." "Your entire species built civilization while hitting each other with metal?" Zara's voice had climbed an octave. "Well, when you put it that way, it sounds weird," Emma said defensively. "But yeah, pretty much. Swords, spears, axes, bows and arrows, crossbows. Later we invented guns, which are also kinetic weapons now that I think about it." She scrolled through her phone. "Here's a timeline. We used bladed weapons as our primary military technology until, like, the 1700s. Even after that, soldiers still carried bayonets, which are basically knife swords attached to guns." Kael'thas felt something fundamental shifting in his understanding of galactic history. When did the Galactic Collective abandon kinetic weapons? Zilax consulted his database, his tendrils moving rapidly. Approximately 52,000 years ago, the invention of directed energy weapons rendered physical projectiles and bladed weapons obsolete. Every species in the collective made the transition within their first 1,000 years of technological development. Except humans, Vexthul said quietly. We got there eventually, Emma protested. We have plasma weapons now, energy shields, quantum computers, all that stuff. We just didn't throw away the old technology. My uncle collects antique weapons. Lots of people do. It's history. Zara stood abruptly, her forearms gesturing at the displays. Every defensive system we have, every shield, every armor protocol, every security measure is optimized against energy weapons, plasma weapons, and quantum disruption technology. Her voice was shaking. We've spent 50,000 years perfecting defenses against sophisticated threats. And nobody considered sharp metal, Kael'thas finished, feeling a laugh building in his chest that bordered on hysterical. Why would we? Vexthul demanded, though his tone suggested he already understood the answer. We never imagined anyone would use sharpened metal. It's primitive. It's obsolete. It's completely effective against everything we've built, Zilax interrupted, staring at his displays. I've been running simulations. A human with a properly forged blade could walk through our most secure facilities. The security scanners wouldn't even classify them as armed because the weapon systems don't recognize physical blades as threats. Emma raised her hand tentatively. Just for the record, most humans don't actually carry swords around. This is like a special case because I needed something for dueling class. Dueling class, Zara repeated flatly. You learn to fight with these weapons? Recreationally? I mean, yeah, there are historical fencing clubs all over Earth. HEMA, historical European martial arts. People study medieval combat techniques, have tournaments, compete with different weapon types. Emma pulled up another video on her phone. See, here's a longsword competition from last year. That's actually my uncle in the finals. The council watched in horrified fascination as two armored humans struck each other repeatedly with metal swords. They're hitting each other with sharp sticks, one council member whispered. For fun. Well, the tournament swords are blunted, Emma explained. You don't want to actually cut people. That would be dangerous. As opposed to the one you brought to class, Vexthul noted dryly. Uncle Rob sharpened this one because I asked him to make it authentic, Emma admitted. I thought it would be cool. I didn't know it would cause an intergalactic incident. Zara collapsed back into her chair. This council needs to issue an immediate mandate. Every defensive protocol in the Galactic Academy system, possibly the entire collective, needs to be reviewed. She looked directly at Emma. Can these swords be detected? Screened for? I mean, they're metal. They'd show up on metal detectors. We stopped using metal detectors 47,000 years ago, Zilax said weakly. Energy signature scanners made them obsolete. Except energy signature scanners don't detect things without energy signatures, Kael'thas said. The entire situation was so absurd he'd looped back around to finding it funny. We built a perfect defense against modern weapons and left ourselves completely vulnerable to ancient ones. Emma stood up, still holding her uncle's sword. So, can I demonstrate how it defeats your security systems? Would that help with the review process? Because honestly, I think seeing it in action might be more useful than me explaining metallurgy. What followed was perhaps the most educationally devastating hour in Galactic Academy history. Emma walked through the station's security checkpoints, weapons scanners, defensive barriers, and containment fields. Each system, representing billions of credits in research and development, failed to stop or even properly detect a weapon that would have been cutting-edge technology in Earth's 14th century. The sword passed through energy barriers like they were made of air, cut through armored doors rated to withstand starship weapons, defeated combat drones designed to neutralize armed intruders. Every sophisticated defense fell to simple, sharp metal wielded by an increasingly uncomfortable college student. I feel like I'm breaking everything, Emma said, watching another security door fall in two pieces. You are, Vexthul confirmed. But we need to know the extent of our vulnerability. By the time they finished, the council had compiled a list of compromised systems that ran to 47 pages. Zara looked like she'd aged a decade. Emergency protocols, the headmaster announced. Every defensive system in the collective needs immediate review. We've been building fortresses with no defenses against the oldest weapons in existence. She looked at Emma with something between respect and terror. How many humans know how to make these swords? Emma checked her phone. According to the Blacksmiths Guild of America website, about 40,000 registered members, plus hobbyists, plus historical societies, plus 40,000, Zara repeated faintly. That's just in America, Emma added helpfully. Europe and Asia have their own smithing communities. Somewhere in the station, another shield generator gave up and died, unable to cope with the implications. The announcement came through every communication channel simultaneously. Academy-wide protocol revision, effective immediately. Kael'thas watched the message scroll across his neural implant while standing in the training arena that had started this entire crisis 6 hours ago. All defensive curricula will be updated to include kinetic weapon defense protocols, Headmaster Zara's recorded message stated. Historical combat methodology will be integrated into standard security training. This is not optional. Around him, the training arena was filled with alien students who'd returned after the all-clear. They weren't looking at the announcement, though. They were looking at Emma, who'd become something between a celebrity and a security threat. Is it true you cut through 17 security doors? A Zephian student asked, her feathers ruffling with excitement. 19 actually, Emma corrected, but I really didn't want to. They made me. Could you teach us? Another student interjected. How to use human weapons. Emma looked panicked. I'm not even that good. I've only been doing HEMA for like 2 years. My uncle's the expert, not me. Kael'thas cleared his throat. Ms. Williams has been temporarily assigned as a historical combat consultant for the Academy. He'd received that particular order from Zara personally, along with a redesign mandate for his entire training program. 40 years of curriculum, obsolete in an afternoon, though she will still be attending her regular classes. I'd better be, Emma muttered. I've already missed 2 lectures today. Commander Vexthul strode into the arena, carrying a tablet that was displaying what looked like procurement forms. I need you to contact your uncle, he told Emma without preamble. The Galactic Defense Force wants to requisition samples of these primitive weapons for comprehensive security testing. Swords, axes, spears, whatever he can produce. Uncle Rob's going to think this is the best day of his life, Emma said, pulling out her phone. He's been trying to sell historical replicas at craft fairs. Now the Galactic military wants to buy them? At military procurement prices, Vexthul confirmed. We need to understand the full scope of our defensive gaps. A group of Galactic Defense Force observers had materialized in the corner of the arena, their scanning equipment pointed at Emma's sword like it was a live explosive. One of them approached cautiously. Would you be willing to provide basic instruction on weapon safety? The officer asked. We've pulled the historical records on human warfare, but theoretical knowledge and practical application are... Sure, Emma interrupted, then hefted the sword. Okay, basic sword safety. Don't swing it at people. Seriously, these things are sharp and you can really hurt someone. The alien students leaned in, their various recording devices active. No power source required, one whispered to another. No ammunition, a third added, sounding awed. It just works, a fourth concluded. All the time, no charging, no maintenance beyond sharpening. Emma continued her impromptu lesson. Always assume a blade is sharp, even if someone tells you it's not. Keep your fingers away from the edge. Don't leave it somewhere someone might trip over it. And for the love of... She paused, glancing around at the multi-species audience. For sake of safety, please don't swing swords around without proper training and protective equipment. Kael'thas was already sketching out new training modules in his neural interface: kinetic weapon recognition, physical blade defense techniques, how to fight opponents who weren't relying on energy signatures. It was like rediscovering combat fundamentals he hadn't realized existed. In the council chamber, still connected via live feed, Zara was addressing an emergency session that included representatives from 17 different star systems. "The implications for galactic security are profound," she was saying. "Humans possess hundreds of weapon designs that completely bypass our defensive infrastructure. Swords are merely the beginning." "Hundreds?" someone asked weakly. According to the Human Historical Database, their species developed spears, axes, maces, flails, warhammers, daggers, bows, crossbows, slings, throwing weapons. Zara's list continued for nearly a minute. In the arena, Emma's phone buzzed. She glanced at it and laughed. "Oh no, my cousin just sent me a message asking if I mentioned medieval archery to anyone official." Every alien in the room went very still. "Medieval archery?" Vexthul repeated. "Yeah, he competes in longbow tournaments. You know, wooden bows that shoot arrows, projectile weapons." Emma's smile faded as she registered the growing horror on every face. Should I not have mentioned that?" The live feed from the council chamber erupted in panicked voices. Someone was shouting about human projectile weapons and undetectable ordnance. Another council member was demanding an immediate review of atmospheric security protocols. "Your species invented ranged, physical projectile weapons?" Zilax asked, appearing from somewhere with his ever-present scanners. "Arrows would have no energy signature, no propulsion system, they're just pointy sticks you shoot with a bent piece of wood," Emma said. "It's really not that complicated." Zilax made a sound like a kettle giving up on existence. Emma raised her hand, trying to get someone's attention in the chaos. "So, can I just use the regular training stuff now? I've got a xenobiology test tomorrow and I really need to study." Kael'thas looked down at the standard training saber in his hand, a sophisticated piece of technology with 17 safety features, quantum-stabilized blade matrix, and automatic force modulation. He'd been teaching with these for decades, considered them the pinnacle of training equipment. "These suddenly seem insufficient," he said quietly. Emma finally got permission to return to her normal class schedule. She carefully placed her uncle's sword in a secure case, now labeled as a Class 7 kinetic threat and requiring 3 levels of authorization to access, and picked up a standard training saber with visible relief. "Oh, thank God, normal equipment," she muttered. As she headed toward the exit, several students scrambled to follow her, pelting her with questions about human combat history. Emma fielded them with good-natured patience while walking toward her next class. "Does anyone want coffee?" she called over her shoulder. "I'm stopping by the station cafe. This has been the weirdest day and I need caffeine." Kael'thas watched her go, trailed by an impromptu entourage of fascinated alien students and at least 3 security officers who'd been assigned to monitor her movements. The human girl who'd accidentally revealed the greatest vulnerability in galactic defensive infrastructure, now concerned primarily with coffee and xenobiology exams. His communicator chimed. Another message from Zara: begin development of physical combat warfare curriculum. Budget unlimited. Timeline immediate. Consultant Williams E. From the arena exit, Emma's voice drifted back. "No, seriously, you can't just pick up a sword and swing it around. You need proper instruction. My uncle offers beginner classes if you're interested." Kael'thas pulled up his own phone, he'd learned the human terminology, and began researching HEMA instructional videos. If he was going to redesign his entire teaching methodology around medieval human combat techniques, he might as well start with YouTube. In her pocket, Emma's phone buzzed with an incoming text. She pulled it out, read the message, and started laughing so hard she had to stop walking. She typed back quickly. "Uncle Rob, your sword caused an intergalactic incident. The galactic military wants to buy your entire inventory. Also, they want you to teach classes. Also, I might have accidentally mentioned archery. And now there's a council panic about human projectile weapons. Call me. When you're done freaking out. Love you. She hit send, pocketed her phone, and continued toward the cafe, already thinking about her xenobiology exam and wondering if the essay question would be about cross-species defensive psychology. Behind her, the Galactic Academy began the long, humbling process of relearning lessons humanity had never forgotten. Sometimes the simplest solutions were the most effective, and you couldn't build a perfect defense if you forgot what you were defending against. Kael'thas watched the feed from the council chamber, where Zara was explaining to increasingly distressed officials that humans had apparently never stopped practicing with weapons their own species considered obsolete. Perhaps, the headmaster was saying, we should consider that primitive and ineffective are not synonyms. In the training arena, a shield generator finally gave up entirely and shut down, unable to cope with paradigm shifts. Kael'thas looked at his training saber one more time, then set it down and opened a requisition form for wooden practice swords. It was going to be a very different kind of semester. End.